times, choke her, hit her on the back and the stomach, pull her hair. The few times he's hit her on the face, it's always just been a slap, so the marks wouldn't stay for long. But never have I seen him do what he did last night. It was really late when they got home. It was a weekend, so he and my mom went to some community function. My father has a real estate company and he's also the town mayor, so they have to do things in the public a lot like go to charity dinners. Which is ironic, since my father hates charities. But I guess he has to save face. Atlas was already in my room when they got home. I could hear them fighting as soon as they walked through the front door. A lot of the conversation was muffled, but for the most part, it sounded like my father was accusing her of flirting with some man. Now I know my mother, Ellen. She would never do something like that. If anything, a guy probably looked at her and it made my father jealous. My mother is really beautiful. I heard him call her a whore and then I heard the first blow. I started to climb out of my bed but Atlas pulled me back and told me not to go in there, that I might get hurt. I told him it actually helps sometimes. That when I go in there, my father backs off. Atlas tried to talk me out of it, but finally I got up and went out into the living room. Ellen. He was on top of her. They were on the couch and he had his hand around her throat, but his other hand was pulling up her dress. She was trying to fight him off and I just stood there, frozen. She kept begging him to get off her and then he hit her right across the face and told her to shut up. I'll never forget his words when he said, "You want attention? I'll give you some fucking attention." And that's when she got real still and stopped fighting him. I heard her crying, and then she said, "Please be quiet. Lily is here." She said, "Please be quiet. Please be quiet while you rape me, dear." Ellen, I didn't know one human was capable of feeling so much hate inside one heart. And I'm not even talking about my father. I'm talking about me. I walked straight to the kitchen and I opened a drawer. I grabbed the biggest knife I could find and I don't know how to explain it. It was like I wasn't even in my own body. I could see myself walking across the kitchen with the knife in my hand, and I knew I wasn't going to use it. I just wanted something bigger than myself that could scare him away from her. But right before I made it out of the kitchen, 2 arms went around my waist and picked me up from behind. I dropped the knife, and my father didn't hear it, but my mother did. We locked eyes as Atlas carried me back to my bedroom. When we were back inside my room, I just started hitting him in the chest, trying to get back out there to her. I was crying and doing everything I could to get him out of my way, but he wouldn't move. He just wrapped his arms around me and said, "Lily, calm down." He kept saying it over and over, and he held me there for a long time until I accepted that he wasn't gonna let me go back out there. He wasn't gonna let me have that knife. He walked over to the bed and grabbed his jacket and started putting on his shoes. "We'll go next door," he said. "We'll call the police." The police. My mother had warned me not to call the police in the past. She said it could jeopardize my father's career. But in all honesty, I didn't care at that point. I didn't care that he was the mayor or that everyone who loved him didn't know the awful side of him. The only thing I cared about was helping my mother, so I pulled on my jacket and went to the closet for a pair of shoes. When I stepped out of my closet, Atlas was staring at my bedroom door. It was opening. My mother stepped inside and quickly shut it, locking it behind her. I'll never forget what she looked like. She had blood coming down from her lip. Her eye was already starting to swell, and she had a clump of hair just resting on her shoulder. She looked at Atlas and then me. I didn't even take a moment to feel scared that she caught me in my room with a boy. I didn't care about that. I was just worried about her. I walked over to her and grabbed her hands and walked her to my bed. I brushed the hair off her shoulder and then from her forehead. "He's gonna go call the police, Mom. Okay?" Her eyes grew real wide and she started shaking her head. "No," she said. She looked over at Atlas and said, "You can't." "No." He was already at the window about to leave, so he stopped and looked at me. "He's drunk, Lily," she said. "He heard your door shut, so he went to our bedroom." He stopped. "If you call the police, it'll just make it worse, believe me. Just let him sleep it off, it'll be better tomorrow." I shook my head and could feel the tears stinging my eyes. "Mom, he was trying to rape you." She ducked her head and winced when I said that. She shook her head again and said, "It's not like that, Lily. We're married, and sometimes marriage is just, you're too young to understand it." It got really quiet for a minute, and then I said, "I hope to hell I never do." That's when she started to cry. She just held her head in her hands, and she started to sob, and all I could do was wrap my arms around her and cry with her. I'd never seen her this upset. Or this hurt. Or this scared. It broke my heart, Ellen. It broke me. When she was finished crying, I looked around the room and Atlas had left. We went to the kitchen and I helped her clean up her lip and her eye. She never did say anything about him being there. Not one thing. I waited for her to tell me I was grounded, but she never did. I realized that maybe she didn't acknowledge it because that's what she does. Things that hurt her just get swept under the rug, never to be brought up again. Lily. Dear Ellen. I think I'm ready to talk about Boston now. He left today. I've shuffled my deck of cards so many times, my hands hurt. I'm scared if I don't get out how I feel on paper, I'll go crazy holding it all in. Our last night didn't go over so well. We kissed a lot at first, but we were both too sad to really care about it. For the second time in 2 days, he told me he changed his mind and that he wasn't leaving. He didn't want to leave me alone in this house. But I've lived with these parents for almost 16 years. It was silly of him to turn down a home in favor of being homeless, just because of me. We both knew that, but it still hurt. I tried to not be so sad about it, so when we were lying there, I asked him to tell me about Boston. I told him maybe one day when I got out of school, I could go there. He got this look in his eye when he started talking about it. A look I'd never seen. Sort of like he was talking about heaven. He told me about how everyone has the greatest accents there. Instead of car, they say ch. He must not realize that he sometimes says his R's like that, too. He said he lived there from the ages of 9 until he was 14, so I guess maybe he picked up a little bit of the accent. He told me about how his uncle lives in an apartment building with the coolest rooftop deck. A lot of apartments have them, he said. Some even have pools. Plethora, Maine, probably didn't even have a building that was tall enough for a rooftop deck. I wondered what it would feel like to be that high up. I asked him if he ever went up there and he said yes. That when he was younger, sometimes he would go to the roof and just sit up there and think while he looked out over the city. He told me about the food. I already knew he liked to cook, but I had no idea how much passion he had for it. I guess because he doesn't have a stove or a kitchen, so other than the cookies he baked me, he's never really talked about cooking before. He told me about the harbor and how, before his mother remarried, she used to take him fishing out there. I mean, Boston isn't any different from any other big city, I guess, he said. There's not a lot that makes it stand out. It's just, I don't know. There's a vibe. A really good energy. When people say they live in Boston, they're proud of it. I miss that sometimes. I ran my fingers through his hair and said, "Well, you make it sound like the best place in the world. Like everything is better in Boston." He looked at me and his eyes were sad when he said, "Everything is almost better in Boston. Except the girls. Boston doesn't have you." That made me blush. He kissed me real sweet and then I said to him, "Boston doesn't have me yet. Someday I'll move there and I'll find you." He made me promise. Said if I moved to Boston, everything really would be better there and it would be the best city in the world. We kissed some more. And did other things that I won't bore you with. Although, that's not to say they were boring. They were not. But then this morning I had to tell him goodbye. And he held me and kissed me so much, I thought I might die if he let go. But I didn't die. Because he let go, and here I am. Still living. Still breathing. Just barely. Lily. I flipped to the next page, but then slammed the book shut. There's only one more entry and I don't know that I really feel like reading it right now. Or ever. I put the journal back in my closet, knowing that my chapter with Atlas is over. He's happy now. I'm happy now. Time can definitely heal all wounds. Or at least most of them. I turn off my lamp and then pick up my phone to plug it in. I have 2 missed text messages from Ryle and one from my mother. Ryle, hey. Naked truth commencing in 3. 2. Ryle, I was worried that being in a relationship would add to my responsibilities. That's why I've avoided them my whole life. I already have enough on my plate, and seeing the stress my parents' marriage seemed to cause them, and the failed marriages of some of my friends, I wanted no part in something like that. But after tonight, I realized that maybe a lot of people are just doing it wrong. Because what's happening between us doesn't feel like a responsibility. It feels like a reward. And I'll fall asleep wondering what I did to deserve it. I pull my phone to my chest and smile. Then I screenshot the text because I'm keeping it forever. I open up the 3rd text message. Mom, a doctor, Lily? And your own business? I want to be you when I grow up. I screenshot that one, too. Chapter 12. What are you doing to those poor flowers? Alyssa asks from behind me. I clamp another silver washer closed and slide it down the stem. Steampunk. We both stand back and admire the bouquet. At least. I hope she's looking at it with admiration. It turned out better than I thought it would. I used florist dip dye to turn some white roses a deep purple. Then I decorated the stems with different steampunk elements, like tiny metal washers and gears, and even superglued a small clock to the brown leather strap that's holding the bouquet together. Steampunk? It's a trend. Kind of a subgenre of fiction, but it's catching on in other areas. Art. Music. I turn around and smile, holding up the bouquet. And now, flowers. Alyssa takes the flowers from me and holds them up in front of her. They're so weird. I love them so much. She hugs them. Can I have them? I pull them away from her. No, they're our grand opening display. Not for sale. I take the flowers from her and grab the vase I made yesterday. I found a pair of old button-up women's boots at a flea market last week. They reminded me of the steampunk style, and the boots are actually where I got the idea for the flowers. I washed the boots last week, dried them, and then superglued pieces of metal to them. Once I brushed them with Mod Podge, I was able to line the inside with a vase to hold water for the flowers. Alyssa. I place the flowers on the center display table. I'm pretty sure this is exactly what I was supposed to do with my life. Steampunk, she asks. I laugh and spin around. Create. I say. And then I flip the sign to open, 15 minutes early. We both spend the day busier than we thought we'd be. Between phone orders, internet orders, and walk-ins, neither of us even has time to take a lunch break. You need more employees, Alyssa says as she passes me, holding 2 bouquets of flowers. That is at 1 o'clock. You need more employees, she says to me at 2 o'clock, holding the phone to her ear and writing down an order while ringing someone up at the register. Marshall stops by after 3 o'clock and asks how it's going. Alyssa says she needs more employees. I help a woman take a bouquet to her car at 4 o'clock, and as I'm walking back inside, Alyssa is walking out, holding another bouquet. You need more employees, she says, exasperated. At 6 o'clock, she locks the door and flips the sign. She falls against the door and slides to the floor, looking up at me. I know, I tell her. I need more employees. She just nods. And then we laugh. I walk over to where she's seated and I sit next to her. We lean our heads together and look at the store. The steampunk flowers are front and center, and although I refuse to sell this particular bouquet, we had 8 pre-orders for more of them. I'm proud of you, Lily, she says. I smile. I couldn't have done it without you, Isa. We sit there for several minutes, enjoying the rest we're finally giving our feet. This was honestly one of the best days I've ever had, but I can't help but feel a nagging sadness that Raul never stopped by. He also never texted. Have you heard from your brother today? I ask. She shakes her head. No, but I'm sure he's just busy. I nod. I know he's busy. We both look up when someone knocks on the door. I smile when I see him cupping his hands around his eyes with his face pressed to the window. He finally looks down and sees us sitting on the floor. Speak of the devil, Alyssa says. I jump up and unlock the door to let him in. As soon as I open it, he's pushing his way inside. I missed it? I did. I missed it. He hugs me. I'm sorry, I tried to get here as soon as I could. I hug him back and say, it's fine. You're here. It was perfect. I'm giddy with excitement that he made it at all. You're perfect, he says, kissing me. Alyssa brushes past us. You're perfect, she mimics. Hey, Ryle, guess what? Ryle releases me. What? Alyssa grabs the trash can and drops it on the counter. Lily needs to hire more employees. I laugh at her constant repetition. Ryle squeezes my hand and says, sounds like business was good. I shrug. I can't complain. I mean, I'm no brain surgeon, but I'm pretty good at what I do. Ryle laughs. You guys need any help cleaning up? Alyssa and I put him to work, helping us clean up after the big day. We get everything finished and prepped for tomorrow, and then Marshall arrives just as we're finishing up. He's carrying a bag when he walks inside and drops it on the counter. He begins to pull out huge lumps of some kind of material and tosses them at each of us. I catch mine and unfold it. It's a onesie. With kittens all over it. Bruins game. Free beer. Suit up, team. Alyssa groans and says, Marshall, you made $6 million this year. Do we really need free beer? He shoves a finger against her lips, pushing them in opposite directions. Shh! Don't speak like a rich girl, Isa. Blasphemy. She laughs and Marshall grabs the onesie out of her hand. He unzips it and helps her into it. Once we're all suited up, we lock the door and head to the bar. I've never in my life seen so many men in onesies. Alyssa and I are the only women wearing them, but I kind of like that. It's loud. So loud, and each time the Bruins make a good play, Alyssa and I have to cover our ears from the screams. After about half an hour, a booth on the top floor opens up and we all run upstairs to claim it. Much better, Alyssa says as we slide in. It's much quieter up here, although still loud compared to normal standards. A waitress comes over to take our drink order. I order red wine, and as soon as I do, Marshall practically jumps out of his seat. Wine, he yells. You're in a onesie. You don't get free wine with a onesie. He tells the waitress to bring me a beer, instead. Ryle tells her to bring me wine. Alyssa wants water, and this upsets Marshall even more. He tells the waitress to bring 4 bottles of beer and then Ryle says, 2 beers, red wine, and a water. The waitress is very confused by the time she leaves our table. Marshall throws his arm around Alyssa and kisses her. How am I supposed to try and knock you up tonight if you aren't a little wasted? The look on Alyssa's face changes, and I feel instantly bad for her. I know Marshall only said that in fun, but it has to bother her. She was just telling me a few days ago how depressed she is that she can't get pregnant. I can't have beer, Marshall. Then drink wine, at least. You like me more when you're tipsy. He laughs at himself, but Alyssa doesn't. I can't have wine either. I can't have any alcohol, actually. Marshall stops laughing. My heart does a flip-flop. Marshall turns in the booth and grabs her shoulders, making her face him straight on. Alyssa? She just starts nodding and I don't know who starts crying first. Me or Marshall or Alyssa. I'm gonna be a dad, he yells. She's still nodding, and I'm just bawling like an idiot. Marshall jumps up in the booth and yells, I'm gonna be a dad. I can't even explain what this moment is like. A grown man in a onesie, standing up in a booth at a bar, yelling to whoever will listen that he's gonna be a dad. He pulls her up and they're both standing in the booth now. He kisses her and it's the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Until I look at Ryle and catch him chewing on his bottom lip like he's trying to blink back a potential tear. He glances at me and sees me staring, so he looks away. Shut up, he says. She's my sister. I smile and lean over and kiss him on the cheek. Congratulations, Uncle Ryle. Once the parents-to-be stop making out in the booth, Ryle and I both stand up and congratulate them. Alyssa said she's been feeling sick for a while, but just took a test this morning before our grand opening. She was going to wait and tell Marshall tonight when they got home, but she couldn't hold it in for another second. Our drinks come and we order food. Once the waitress walks away, I look at Marshall. How did you two meet? He says, Alyssa tells the story better than I do. Alyssa perks up and leans forward. I hated him, she says. He was Ryle's best friend and he was always at the house. I thought he was so annoying. He had just moved to Ohio from Boston and he had that Boston accent. He thought it made him so cool, but I just wanted to slap him every time he spoke. She's so sweet, Marshall says, sarcastically. You were an idiot, Alyssa replies, rolling her eyes. Anyway, one day Ryle and I had a few friends over. Nothing big, but our parents were out of town, so of course we had a little get-together. There were 30 people there, Ryle says. It was a party. Okay, a party, Alyssa says. I walked into the kitchen and Marshall was standing there pressed up against some floozy. She wasn't a floozy, he says. She was a nice girl. Tasted like Cheetos, but... Alyssa glares at him so he shuts up. She turns back to me. I lost it, she says. I started yelling at him to take his horse to his own house. The girl was literally so terrified of me, she ran for the door and didn't come back. Cockblocker, Marshall says. Alyssa punches him in the shoulder. Anyway. After I cock-blocked him, I ran to my room, embarrassed that I did that. It was out of pure jealousy, and I didn't even realize I liked him that way until I saw his hands on some other girl's ass. I threw myself on my bed and started crying. A few minutes later, he walked into my room and asked me if I was okay. I rolled over and yelled, I like you, you stupid fuckface. And the rest is history, Marshall says. I laugh. Aw. Stupid fuckface. How sweet. Ryle holds up a finger and says, you're leaving out the best part. Alyssa shrugs. Oh yeah. So Marshall walked over to me, pulled me off the bed, kissed me with the same mouth he was just kissing the floozy with, and we made out for half an hour. Ryle walked in on us and started screaming at Marshall. Then Marshall pushed Ryle out of my bedroom, locked the door, and made out with me for another hour. Ryle is shaking his head. Betrayed by my best friend. Marshall pulls Alyssa to him. I like her, you stupid fuckface. I laugh, but Raul turns to me with a serious look on his face. I didn't speak to him for an entire month, I was so mad. I eventually got over it. We were 18, she was 17. Wasn't much I could do in the way of keeping them apart. Wow, I say. I sometimes forget how close in age you two are. Alyssa smiles and says, 3 kids in 3 years. I feel so sorry for my parents. The table grows quiet. I see an apologetic look pass from Alyssa to Raul. 3? I ask. You have another sibling? Raul straightens up and takes a sip of his beer. He sets it back down on the table and says, we had an older brother. He passed away when we were kids. Such a great night, ruined by a simple question. Luckily, Marshall redirects the conversation like a pro. I spend the rest of the evening listening to stories about them growing up. I'm not sure I've ever laughed as hard as I have tonight. When the game is over, we all walk back to the shop to retrieve our cars. Raul said he caught an Uber over earlier, so he'll just ride with me. Before Alyssa and Marshall leave, I tell her to hold on. I run inside the store and grab the steampunk flowers and run them back to their car. Her face lights up when I hand them to her. I'm happy you're pregnant, but that's not why I'm giving you these flowers. I just want you to have them. Because you're my best friend. Alyssa squeezes me and whispers in my ear. I hope he marries you someday. We'll be even better sisters. She climbs inside the car and they leave. And I just stand there watching them because I don't know that I've ever had a friend like her in my whole life. Maybe it's the wine. I don't know, but I love today. Everything about it. I especially love how Raul looks, leaning against my car, watching me. You're really beautiful when you're happy. Ugh. This day. Perfect. We're making our way up the stairs to my apartment when Raul grabs my waist and pushes me against the wall. He just starts kissing me, right there in the stairwell. Impatient, I mutter. He laughs and cups my ass with both of his hands. Nope. It's this onesie. You really should consider making this your business attire. He kisses me again and doesn't stop kissing me until someone passes us, heading down the stairs. The guy mumbles, nice onesies, as he squeezes past us. Did the Bruins win? Raul nods. 3-1, he responds, without looking up at the guy. Nice, the guy says. Once he's gone, I step away from Raul. What is this onesie thing? Does every male in Boston know about this? He laughs and says, free beer, Lily. It's free beer. He pulls me up the stairs, and when we walk in the door, Lucy is standing at the kitchen table taping up a box of her stuff. There's another box she hasn't taped up yet and I could swear I see a bowl that I bought at HomeGoods sticking out of the top. She said she'd have all her stuff out by next week, but I have a feeling she'll conveniently have some of my stuff out, too. Who are you? She asks, looking Raul up and down. Raul Kincaid. I'm Lily's boyfriend. Lily's boyfriend. Did you hear that? Boyfriend. It's the first time he's confirmed it, and he said it so confidently. My boyfriend, huh? I walk into the kitchen and grab a bottle of wine and 2 wine glasses. Raul comes up behind me as I'm pouring the wine and snakes his arms around my waist. Yep. Your boyfriend. I hand him a glass of wine and say, so I'm a girlfriend? He holds up his glass and clinks it against mine. To the end of trial runs and the beginning of sure things. We're both smiling as we take a drink of our wine. Lucy stacks the boxes together and walks toward the front door. Looks like I got out right in time, she says. The door closes behind her and Raul raises an eyebrow. I don't think your roommate likes me very much. You'd be surprised. I didn't think she liked me either, but yesterday she asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding. I think she's just hoping for free flowers, though. She's very opportunistic. Ryle laughs and leans against the refrigerator. His eyes fall to a magnet that says Boston on it. He pulls it off the refrigerator and raises an eyebrow. You'll never get out of Boston purgatory if you keep souvenirs of Boston on your fridge like a tourist. I laugh and grab the magnet, slapping it back on the fridge. I like that he remembers so much about the first night we met. It was a gift. It only counts as touristy if I bought it myself. He steps over to me and takes my glass of wine from my hands. He sets both of our glasses on the countertop, and then leans in and gives me a deep, passionate, drunken kiss. I can taste the tart fruitiness of the wine on his tongue, and I like it. His hands go to the zipper on my onesie. Let's get you out of these clothes. He pulls me toward the bedroom, kissing me while we both struggle out of our clothes. By the time we make it to my bedroom, I'm down to my bra and panties. He shoves me against the door, and I gasp at the unexpectedness of it. Don't move, he says. He presses his lips to my chest, then begins to kiss me slowly as he makes his way down my body. Oh, Lord. Can this day seriously get any better? I run my hands through his hair, but he grabs my wrists and presses them against the door. He climbs back up my body, squeezing my wrists tightly. He raises an eyebrow in warning. I said, don't move. I try not to smile, but it's hard to disguise. He drags his mouth back down my body. He slowly lowers my panties to my ankles, but he told me not to move, so I don't kick them off. His mouth slides up my thigh until. Yeah. Best day ever. Chapter 13. Ryle, are you at home or still at work? Me, work. Should be done in about an hour. Ryle, can I come see you? Me, you know how people say there is no such thing as a stupid question? They're wrong. That was a stupid question. Ryle? Half an hour later, he's knocking at the front door of the floral shop. I closed the shop almost 3 hours ago, but I'm still here, trying to get caught up on the chaos that was the first month. The store is still too new to get an accurate projection of how well or how bad it's doing. Some days are great and some are so slow I send Alyssa home. But overall, I'm happy with how it's gone so far. And happy with how things are going with Ryle. I unlock the door to let him in. He's in light blue scrubs again, and he still has a stethoscope around his neck. Fresh from work. Very nice touch. I swear, every time I see him straight off a shift, I have to hide the stupid grin on my face. I give him a quick kiss and then turn back toward my office. I have a few things to finish up and then we can go back to my place. He follows me into my office and closes the door. You got a couch? He asks, looking around my office. I've spent some of this week putting the finishing touches on it. I bought a couple of lamps so I don't have to turn on the overpowering fluorescent lights. The lamps give the room a soft glow. I also bought a few plants to keep here permanently. It's no garden, but it's as close as it gets. It's come a long way since this room was being used as storage for vegetable crates. Ryle walks over to the couch and falls down onto it, face first. Take your time, he mumbles into the pillow. I'll just nap until you're finished. I sometimes worry about how hard he pushes himself with work, but I don't say anything. I've been sitting in my office going on 12 hours now, so I don't have much room to talk when it comes to being too ambitious. I spend the next 15 or so minutes finalizing orders. When I'm finished, I close my laptop and look over at Ryle. I thought he'd be asleep, but instead he's on his side with his head propped up on his hand. He's been watching me this whole time, and seeing the smile on his face makes me blush. I push my chair back and stand up. Lily, I think I like you too much, he says as I make my way over to him. I scrunch up my nose as he sits up on the couch and pulls me onto his lap. Too much? That doesn't sound like a compliment. That's because I don't know if it is, he says. He adjusts my legs on either side of him and then wraps his arms around my waist. This is my first real relationship. I don't know if I'm supposed to like you this much yet. I don't want to scare you away. I laugh. Like that could ever happen. You work way too much to smother me. He rubs his hands up my back. Does it bother you that I work too much? I shake my head. No. I worry about you sometimes because I don't want you to burn yourself out. But I don't mind that I have to share you with your passion. I actually really like how ambitious you are. It's kind of sexy. It might even be my favorite thing about you. You know what I like the most about you? I already know this answer, I say, smiling. My mouth. He leans his head back against the couch. Oh yeah. That does come first. But do you know what my second favorite thing about you is? I shake my head. You don't put pressure on me to be something I'm incapable of being. You accept me exactly how I am. I smile. Well, in all fairness, you're a little different from when I first met you. You aren't so anti-girlfriend anymore. That's because you make it easy, he says, sliding a hand inside the back of my shirt. It's easy being with you. I can still have the career I've always wanted, but you make it 10 times better with the way you support me. When I'm with you, I feel like I get to have my cake and eat it, too. Now both of his hands are beneath my shirt, pressed against my back. He pulls me toward him and kisses me. I grin against his mouth and whisper, "Is it the best cake you've ever tasted?" One of his hands moves to the back of my bra and he unfastens it with ease. I'm pretty sure, but maybe I need another taste of it to be positive. He pulls my shirt and bra over my head. I begin to push myself off of him so I can pull off my jeans, but he pulls me back onto his lap. He grabs his stethoscope and puts it in his ears, then presses the diaphragm against my chest, right over my heart. What's got your heart so worked up, Lily? I shrug innocently. It might have a little to do with you, Dr. Kincaid. He drops the end of the stethoscope and then lifts me off of him, pushing me back onto the couch. He spreads my legs and kneels down on the couch between them, placing the stethoscope against my chest again. He uses his other hand to hold himself up as he continues listening to my heart. I'd say you're at about 90 beats per minute, he says. Is that good or bad? He grins and lowers himself on top of me. I'll be satisfied when it reaches 140. Yeah. If it reaches 140, I'm thinking I'll be satisfied, too. He lowers his mouth to my chest and my eyes fall shut when I feel his tongue slide across my breast. He takes me in his mouth, keeping the stethoscope pressed against my chest the entire time. You're at about 100 now, he says. He wraps the stethoscope around his neck again and then pulls back, unbuttoning my jeans. Once he slides them off of me, he turns me over until I'm on my stomach, my arms draped over the arm of the couch. Get on your knees, he says. I do what he says, and before I'm even adjusted, I feel the cold metal of the stethoscope meet my chest again, this time with his arm snaked around me from behind. I remain still as he listens to my heartbeat. His other hand slowly begins to find its way between my legs and then inside my panties and then inside of me. I grip the couch but try to keep the noises to a minimum while he listens to my heart. 110, he says, still unsatisfied. He pulls my hips back to meet him and then I can feel him freeing himself from his scrubs. He grips my hip with one hand while shoving my panties aside with the other. Then he pushes forward until he's all the way inside of me. I'm grasping the couch with two desperate fists when he pauses to listen to my heart again. Lily, he says with mock disappointment. 120. Not quite where I want you. The stethoscope disappears again and his arm curls around my waist. His hand slides down my stomach and settles between my legs. I can no longer keep up with his rhythm. I can barely even stay on my knees. He's somehow holding me up with one hand and destroying me in the best possible way with his other hand. Right when I start to tremble, he pulls me upright until my back meets his chest. He's still inside me, but now he's focused on my heart again as he moves his stethoscope around to the front of my chest. I let out a moan and he presses his lips to my ear. Shh. No noises. I have no idea how I make it through the next 30 seconds without making another sound. One of his arms is wrapped around me with the stethoscope pressed to my chest. His other arm is tight against my stomach as his hand continues its magic between my legs. He's still somehow deep inside me and I'm trying to move against him, but he's rock solid as the tremors begin to rush through me. My legs are shaking and my hands are at my sides, gripping the tops of his thighs as it takes every ounce of my strength not to scream out his name. I'm still shaking when he lifts my hand and places the diaphragm against my wrist. After several seconds, he pulls the stethoscope away and tosses it to the floor. 150, he says with satisfaction. He pulls out of me and flips me onto my back and then his mouth is on mine and he's inside me again. My body is too weak to move and I can't even open my eyes and watch him. He thrusts against me several times and then holds still, groaning into my mouth. He drops on top of me, tense, yet shaking. He kisses my neck and then his lips meet the tattoo of the heart on my collarbone. He finally settles against my neck and sighs. Have I already mentioned tonight how much I like you? He asks. I laugh. Once or twice. Consider this the third time, he says. I like you. Everything about you, Lily. Being inside of you. Being outside of you. Being near you. I like it all. I smile, loving how his words feel against my skin. Inside my heart. I open my mouth to tell him I like him, too, but my voice is cut off by the sound of his phone. He groans against my neck and then pulls out of me and reaches for his phone. He pulls his scrubs back into place and laughs as he looks at his caller ID. It's my mother, he says, leaning over and kissing the top of my knee that's resting against the back of the couch. He tosses the phone aside and then stands and walks over to my desk, grabbing a box of tissues. This is always awkward, having to clean up after sex. But I can't say it's ever been this awkward before, knowing his mother is on the other end of that ring. Once all my clothes are back in place, he pulls me against him on the couch and I lie down on top of him, resting my head on his chest. It's after 10 now and I'm so comfortable I debate just sleeping here for the night. Ryle's phone makes another noise, alerting him to a new voicemail. The thought of seeing him interact with his mother makes me smile. Alyssa talks about their parents some, but I've never really talked to Ryle about them before. Do you get along with your parents? His arm is stroking mine gently. Yeah, I do. They're good people. We hit a rough patch when I was a teenager, but we worked through it. I talk to my mother almost daily now. I fold my arms over his chest and rest my chin on them, looking up at him. Will you tell me more about your mother? Alyssa told me they moved to England a few years ago. And that they were in Australia on vacation, but that was like a month ago. He laughs. My mother? Well, my mother is very overbearing. Very judgmental, especially of the people she loves the most. She's never missed a single church service. And I have never heard her refer to my father as anything other than Dr. Kincaid. Despite the warnings, he smiles the whole time he talks about her. Your father is a doctor, too? He nods. Psychiatrist. He chose a field that also allowed him to have a normal life. Smart man. Do they ever visit you in Boston? Not really. My mother hates flying, so Alyssa and I fly to England a couple of times a year. She does want to meet you, though, so you might be going with us on the next trip. I grin. You've told your mother about me? Of course, he says. This is kind of a monumental thing, you know. Me having a girlfriend. She calls me every day to make sure I haven't screwed it up somehow. I laugh, which makes him reach for his phone. You think I'm kidding? I guarantee she somehow brought you up in the voicemail she just left. He presses a few keys and then begins to play the voicemail. Hey, sweetheart. It's your mom. Haven't spoken to you since yesterday. Miss you. Give Lily a hug for me. You do still see her, right? Alyssa says you can't stop talking about her. She is still your girlfriend, right? Okay. Gretchen's here, we're having high tea. Love you. Kiss kiss. I press my face against his chest and laugh. We've only been dating a few months. How much do you talk about me? He pulls my hand up between us and kisses it. Too much, Lily. Way too much. I smile. I can't wait to meet them. Not only did they raise an incredible daughter, but they made you. That's pretty impressive. His arms tighten around me and he kisses the top of my head. What was your brother's name? I ask him. I can feel a slight stiffness in him after I ask that. I regret bringing it up, but it's too late to take it back. Emerson. I can tell by his voice that it's not something he wants to talk about right now. Instead of pressing it further, I lift my head and scoot forward, pressing my mouth to his. I should know better. Kisses can't seem to stop at just kisses when it comes to me and Ryle. In a matter of minutes, he's inside of me again, but this time it's everything the other time wasn't. This time we make love. Chapter 14. My phone rings. I pick it up to see who it is and I'm a little taken aback. It's the first time Ryle has ever called me. We always just text. How odd to have a boyfriend for over 3 months that I've never once spoken to on the phone. Hello? Hey, girlfriend, he says. I smile cheesily at the sound of his voice. Hey, boyfriend. Guess what? What? I'm taking the day off tomorrow. Your floral shop doesn't open until 1 o'clock on Sundays. I'm on my way to your apartment with 2 bottles of wine. You want to have a sleepover with your boyfriend and have drunken sex all night and sleep until noon? It's really embarrassing what his words do to me. I smile and say, guess what? What? I'm cooking you dinner. And I'm wearing an apron. Oh, yeah, he says. Just an apron. And then I hang up. A few seconds later, I get a text message. Ryle, pic, please. Me, get over here and you can take the picture yourself. I'm almost finished preparing the casserole mixture when the door opens. I pour it into the glass pan and don't turn around when I hear him walk into the kitchen. When I said I was just wearing an apron, I meant it. I'm not even wearing panties. I can hear him suck in a rush of air when I reach over to the oven and stick the casserole inside. I might reach a little too far for show when I do it. When I close the oven, I don't face him. I grab a rag and start wiping down the oven, making sure to sway my hips as much as possible. I squeal when I feel a piercing sting on my right butt cheek. I spin around and Ryle is grinning, holding 2 bottles of wine. Did you just bite me? He gives me an innocent look. Don't tempt the scorpion if you don't want to get stung. He eyes me up and down while he opens one of the bottles. He holds it up before he pours us a glass and says, it's vintage. Vintage, I say with mock impression. What's the special occasion? He hands me a glass and says, I'm going to be an uncle. I have a smoking hot girlfriend. And I get to perform a very rare, possibly once-in-a-lifetime craniopagus separation on Monday. A cranio what? He finishes off his glass of wine and pours himself another one. Craniopagus separation. Conjoined twins, he says. He points to a spot on the top of his head and taps it. Attached right here. We've been studying them since they were born. It's a very rare surgery. Very rare. For the first time, I think I'm genuinely turned on by him as a doctor. I mean, I admire his drive. I admire his dedication. But seeing how excited he is about what he's doing for a living is seriously sexy. How long do you think it'll take? I ask. He shrugs. Not sure. They're young, so being under general anesthesia for too long is a concern. He holds up his right hand and wiggles his fingers. But this is a very special hand that has been through almost $500,000 worth of specialty education. I have a lot of faith in this hand. I walk over to him and press my lips to his palm. I'm a little fond of this hand, too. He slides the hand down to my neck and then spins me so that I'm flush against the counter. I gasp, because I wasn't expecting that. He pushes himself against me from behind and slowly slides his hand down the side of my body. I press my palms into the granite and close my eyes, already feeling the rush of the wine. This hand, he whispers, is the steadiest hand in all of Boston. He pushes on the back of my neck, bending me further over the counter. His hand meets the inside of my knee and he glides it upward. Slowly. Jesus. He pushes my legs apart, and then his fingers are inside me. I moan and try to find something to hold on to. I grip the faucet, just as he begins to work magic. And then, just like a magician, his hand disappears. I hear him walking out of the kitchen. I watch as he passes the front of the counter. He winks at me, downs the rest of his glass of wine and says, "I'm gonna take a quick shower." What a tease. You asshole. I yell after him. I'm not an asshole, he yells from my bedroom. I'm a highly trained neurosurgeon. I laugh and pour myself another glass of wine. I'll show him who the tease really is. I'm on my third glass of wine when he walks out of my bedroom. I'm on the phone with my mother, so I watch him from the couch as he makes his way to the kitchen and pours himself another glass. That is some seriously good wine. What are you doing tonight? My mother asks. I have her on speakerphone. Ryle is leaning against a wall, watching me talk to her. Not much. Helping Ryle study. That sounds not very interesting, she says. Ryle winks at me. It's actually very interesting, I say to her. I help him study a lot. Mostly reviewing fine motor control of the hands. In fact, we'll probably be up all night studying. The 3 glasses of wine has made me frisky. I can't believe I'm flirting with him while I'm on the phone with my mother. Gross. I gotta go, I tell her. We're taking Alyssa and Marshall out to dinner tomorrow night, so I'll call you on Monday. Oh, where are you taking them? I roll my eyes. The woman can't take a hint. I don't know. Ryle, where are we taking them? That place we went to that one time with your mom, he says. Bibs? I made reservations for 6 o'clock. My heart feels like it slinks down my chest. My mother says, "Oh, good choice.
Yeah.
If you like stale bread."
Bye.
Mom. I hang up and look at Ryle. I don't want to go back there. I didn't like it. Let's try something new. I fail to tell him why I really don't want to go back there. But how do you tell your brand new boyfriend that you're trying to avoid your first love? Ryle pushes off the wall. You'll be fine, he says. Alyssa's excited to eat there, I told her all about it. Maybe I'll get lucky and Atlas won't be working. Speaking of food, Ryle says. I'm starving. The casserole. Oh shit. I say, laughing. Ryle rushes to the kitchen and I stand up and follow him in there. I walk in just as he pulls the oven door open and waves away the smoke. Ruined. I get dizzy all of a sudden from standing up too fast after having 3 glasses of wine. I grab the counter beside him to steady myself, just as he reaches in to pull the burnt casserole out. Ryle. You need a shit, he yells. Pot holder. The casserole falls from his hand and lands on the floor, shattering everywhere. I lift up my feet to avoid broken glass and mushroom chicken splatter. I start laughing as soon as I realize he didn't even think to use a pot holder. Must be the wine. This is some seriously strong wine. He slams the oven shut and moves to the faucet, shoving his hand under the cold water, muttering curse words. I'm trying to suppress my laughter, but the wine and the ridiculousness of the last few seconds are making it hard. I look at the floor, at the mess we're about to have to clean up, and the laughter bursts from me. I'm still laughing as I lean over to get a look at Ryle's hand. I hope he didn't hurt it too bad. I'm instantly not laughing anymore. I'm on the floor, my hand pressed against the corner of my eye. In a matter of 1 second, Ryle's arm came out of nowhere and slammed against me, knocking me backward. There was enough force behind it to knock me off balance. When I lost my footing, I hit my face on one of the cabinet door handles as I came down. Pain shoots through the corner of my eye, right near my temple. And then I feel the weight. Heaviness follows, and it presses down on every part of me. So much gravity, pushing down on my emotions. Everything shatters. My tears, my heart, my laughter, my soul. Shattered like broken glass, raining down around me. I wrap my arms over my head and try to wish away the last 10 seconds. God damn it, Lily, I hear him say. It's not funny. This hand is my fucking career. I don't look up at him. His voice doesn't penetrate through my body this time. It feels like it's stabbing me now, the sharpness of each of his words coming at me like swords. Then I feel him next to me, his goddamn hand on my back. Rubbing. Lily, he says. Oh, God. Lily. He tries to pull my arms from my head, but I refuse to budge. I start shaking my head, wanting the last 15 seconds to go away. 15 seconds. That's all it takes to completely change everything about a person. 15 seconds that we'll never get back. He pulls me against him and starts kissing the top of my head. I'm so sorry. I burned my hand. I panicked. You were laughing and... I'm so sorry, it all happened so fast. I didn't mean to push you, Lily, I'm sorry. I don't hear Ryle's voice this time. All I hear is my father's voice. I'm sorry, Jenny. It was an accident. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Lily. It was an accident. I'm so sorry. I just want him away from me. I use every ounce of strength I have in both my hands and legs and I force him the fuck away from me. He falls backward, onto his hands. His eyes are full of genuine sorrow, but then they're full of something else. Worry? Panic? He slowly pulls up his right hand and it's covered in blood. Blood is trickling out of his palm, down his wrist. I look at the floor, at the shattered pieces of glass from the casserole dish. His hand. I just pushed him onto glass. He turns around and pulls himself up. He sticks his hand under the stream of water and starts rinsing away the blood. I stand up, just as he pulls a sliver of glass out of his palm and tosses it on the counter. I'm full of so much anger, but somehow, concern for his hand still finds its way out. I grab a towel and shove it into his fist. There's so much blood. It's his right hand. His surgery Monday. I try to help stop the bleeding, but I'm shaking too bad. Ryle, your hand. He pulls the hand away and, with his good hand, he lifts my chin. Fuck the hand, Lily. I don't care about my hand. Are you okay? He's looking back and forth between my eyes frantically as he assesses the cut on my face. My shoulders begin to shake and huge, hurt-filled tears spill down my cheeks. No, I'm a little in shock, and I know he can hear my heart breaking with just that one word, because I can feel it in every part of me. Oh my God. You pushed me, Ryle. The realization of what has just happened hurts worse than the actual action. Ryle wraps his arm around my neck and desperately holds me against him. I'm so sorry, Lily. God, I'm so sorry. He buries his face against my hair, squeezing me with every emotion inside of him. Please don't hate me. Please. His voice slowly starts to become Ryle's voice again, and I feel it in my stomach, in my toes. His entire career depends on his hand, so it has to say something that he's not even worried about it. Right? I'm so confused. There's too much happening. The smoke, the wine, the broken glass, the food splattered everywhere, the blood, the anger, the apologies, it's too much. I'm so sorry, he says again. I pull back and his eyes are red and I've never seen him look so sad. I panicked. I didn't mean to push you away, I just panicked. All I could think about was the surgery Monday and my hand and... I'm so sorry. He presses his mouth to mine and breathes me in. He's not like my father. He can't be. He's nothing like that uncaring bastard. We're both upset and kissing and confused and sad. I've never felt anything like this moment, so ugly and painful. But somehow the only thing that eases the hurt just caused by this man is this man. My tears are soothed by his sorrow, my emotions soothed with his mouth against mine, his hand gripping me like he never wants to let go. I feel his arms go around my waist and he picks me up, carefully stepping through the mess we've made. I can't tell if I'm more disappointed in him or myself. Him for losing his temper in the first place or me for somehow finding comfort in his apology. He carries me and kisses me all the way to my bedroom. He's still kissing me when he lowers me to the bed and whispers, "I'm sorry, Lily." He moves his lips to the spot on my eye that hit the cabinet, and he kisses me there. I'm so sorry. His mouth is on mine again, hot and wet, and I don't even know what's happening to me. I'm hurting so much on the inside, yet my body craves his apology in the form of his mouth and hands on me. I want to lash out at him and react like I always wish my mother would have reacted when my father hurt her, but deep down I want to believe that it really was an accident. Ryle isn't like my father. He's nothing like him. I need to feel his sorrow. His regret. I get both of these things in the way he kisses me. I spread my legs for him and his sorrow comes in another form. Slow, apologetic thrusts inside of me.